5 years had passed since the council hearing. 5 years since Taiho had stood against an empire for love. 5 years since humanity had shown the galaxy what it meant to care. Taiho was no longer a dock worker. He and Yuna now ran a small shelter near Dock 7, the same dock where they had first met. The same cold corner where Yuna had cried alone in her dirty wedding dress. But now, that corner was different. It was warm. It was bright. It was a place of hope. The shelter was called the Silver Home. It was a place for rejected aliens. Those who had been abandoned by their families, their species, their worlds. Those who had nowhere else to go. Those who had been told they were defective. Yuna had started it with her own hands. She had cleaned the space, painted the walls, built the beds. Taiho had helped every step of the way. Together, they had created something beautiful from something broken. Tonight, the shelter was full. 12 aliens sat around a long table, eating dinner together. They came from different planets, different species, different stories. But they all had one thing in common. They had been rejected. And they had been saved. At the head of the table sat Hana, a young girl with green skin and 3 eyes. In her species, having 3 eyes was considered a bad sign. Her parents had sold her to traders when she was just a child. She had been passed from owner to owner until a human pilot found her and brought her to the shelter. Now she was 13 years old. She went to school on the station. She had friends. She laughed. She was happy. Next to her sat a tall alien named Biora. His body was covered in scales that changed color with his mood. In his species, changing colors was shameful. It meant you could not control your emotions. His family had cast him out when he was a teenager. For years, he had lived on the streets of different stations, hiding his scales under heavy clothes. A human engineer had found him nearly frozen in a cargo hold. She had wrapped him in her own jacket and brought him to the shelter. Now he worked as a translator, helping new arrivals adjust to life on the station. Around the table, there were many more stories. A woman with wings too small to fly. A man with no voice. A child born without the markings that showed family belonging. Each one rejected. Each one broken. Each one healing. Taiho looked at them all with pride in his heart. This was what they had built. This was what their love had created. Yuna sat beside him, her silver hair now worn openly, without shame. It had grown longer over the years, falling past her waist like a river of light. She was no longer afraid to show it. In fact, she wore it like a crown. "You are thinking again," she said softly. Taiho smiled. "I am thinking about how far we have come." Yuna took his hand. "We have come far, but there is still much to do." She was right. The galaxy was changing, but slowly. The shelter on Station 12 had inspired others. Now there were silver homes on 20 different stations, all run by humans and the aliens they had saved. All places of hope in a sometimes cold universe. But there were also those who hated what they were doing. Some species saw the shelters as threats to their traditions. Some saw the humans as interfering outsiders. There had been threats, protests. Once, someone had tried to burn down a shelter on Station 8. A human woman had been hurt protecting the aliens inside. The fight was not over. It would never truly be over. But Taiho had learned something important in these 5 years. Change was not about winning once. It was about showing up every day. It was about choosing kindness again and again, even when it was hard. After dinner, Taiho walked through the shelter, checking on everyone. He stopped at a small room where a new arrival was resting. She was a young alien, maybe 16 years old, with 4 arms and no legs. In her species, legs were required for adulthood ceremonies. Without them, she could never be considered a full person. Her name was Subin. She had been left at the station dock, 2 days ago with nothing but a small bag and a note that said, "Do not return. You are not wanted." Now she lay in a warm bed, her forearms wrapped around a soft pillow. She was sleeping, but her face was not peaceful. Taeho could see the pain in her expression, the years of hurt that would take time to heal. He sat down quietly beside her bed. He did not speak. He just sat there, letting her know she was not alone. After a while, Subin opened her eyes. She looked at Taeho with confusion. "Why are you here?" she asked. "I wanted to make sure you were okay," Taeho said. "Why do you care?" "You do not know me." Taeho smiled gently. "I did not know my wife when I first met her. She was sitting alone in a dark corner, crying because someone had told her she was defective. I sat with her because it was the right thing to do. That is all." Subin was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Does it get better?" "The pain?" "Yes," Taeho said honestly. "It takes time. But yes, it gets better. One day, you will look back and realize that being rejected by those who could not see your worth was not your loss. It was theirs." Tears fell from Subin's eyes. "No one has ever said that to me before." "Then let me be the first," Taeho said. "You are not defective. You are not broken. You are a person complete and whole, exactly as you are." He stayed with her until she fell asleep again. Then he walked back to his room, where Yuna was waiting. "Another one saved," she said softly. "Another one healing." Taeho agreed. They stood by the window together, looking out at the stars. So many lights in the darkness. So many worlds. So many stories. "Do you ever regret it?" Yuna asked. "That night you found me. You could have walked away. You could have lived a simple, quiet life." Taeho pulled her close. "I could never have walked away. And this life we have now, it is anything but simple. But I would not trade it for anything in the galaxy." Yuna smiled and leaned her head against his shoulder. "I love you, Taeho. I love you too, Yuna." They had not said those words on their wedding day. They had not said them for many months after. But when they finally came, they were true. Built not on passion or desire, but on something deeper, something stronger. A love forged in kindness, in struggle, in choosing each other every single day. The galaxy still did not fully understand humans. They were strange creatures, emotional, unpredictable, willing to fight for things that did not make sense, willing to love those who had been thrown away. But some species were starting to understand. They were starting to see that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their armies. It was their heart. Humans did not ask if someone was worth saving. They just saved them. They did not care about defects or bloodlines or laws. They cared about people. And that simple truth was changing the galaxy. One rejected soul at a time, thought far across the stars. In council chambers and government halls, leaders spoke of the human problem. What to do about these creatures who kept interfering, who kept protecting the unwanted, who kept spreading their dangerous ideas about worth and dignity. But it was too late to stop them. The movement had grown too large. The shelters had spread too far. The message had reached too many hearts. Some things, once started, cannot be stopped. And love, real love, was one of them. In their small room on Station 12, Taeho and Yuna held each other close. Outside, the stars burned bright against the darkness. And somewhere in the galaxy, another rejected soul was finding their way to a silver home, finding their way to people who would not turn them away, finding their way to hope. This was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not conquest, not power, but the simple, revolutionary truth that everyone deserved to be loved. And as Taeho looked at his wife, at her beautiful silver hair, at her kind violet eyes, he knew that the greatest adventures were not about traveling to distant stars. They were about the person standing beside you. Some stories end with kingdoms won and enemies defeated. But the best stories end with something simpler, something truer. They end with love. And love, humanity had taught the galaxy, was the most powerful force in the universe. 3 weeks passed since the wedding. Taeho and Yuna were learning how to live together. It was strange at first. They were two people from different worlds, different species, different ways of life. But slowly, they found a rhythm. Yuna cooked meals from her homeworld, using strange ingredients she bought from the alien market. Some dishes were too sour for Taeho. Some were too sweet. But he ate them all and thanked her every time. In return, he taught her how to make human food. She loved rice the most. She said it reminded her of small stars at night. They talked for hours. Yuna told him about her planet, a blue world covered in water. She told him about her family, poor farmers who had saved for years to arrange her marriage. She told him about her childhood, always hiding her silver hair under claws, always feeling like she was wrong. Taeho listened to everything. He shared his own stories. His parents, both scientists, who had died in an accident on Earth. His lonely journey to the stars, looking for work. His years on the station, quiet and alone. They slept in the same bed now, but nothing happened between them. They were not ready for that. For now, they were partners, friends, two souls keeping each other warm in the cold galaxy. And that was good enough. But their peaceful life was about to end. It started on a normal morning. Taeho was getting ready for work when someone knocked on their door. This was strange. They had no visitors. They knew almost no one on the station. Taeho opened the door. Two aliens stood outside. They were tall, with blue skin and dark blue hair. Their clothes were expensive, covered in gold patterns. Their faces were cold and serious. "We are looking for the one called Yuna," one of them said. Yuna came to the door. When she saw the visitors, her face became white. "You," she whispered. "Hello, bride." The taller alien smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "My name is Daesu. I have come to take you back." Taeho stepped between them. "She is not going anywhere with you. She is my wife." Daesu laughed. "Your wife? You are human. Your marriage means nothing. Our species has older laws, stronger laws." "I was rejected," Yuna said, her voice shaking. "The marriage contract was broken. You cannot claim me now. Things have changed." Daesu pulled out a small device and showed them a picture. It was a document, covered in ancient writing and official seals. "Do you know what this is?" Yuna shook her head. "This is a record from the royal archives of our planet," Daesu said. "For centuries, it was lost. But scholars have found it again." "And do you know what it says about silver hair?" Yuna was silent. "Silver hair is not a defect," Daesu continued. "It is a mark of the old royal bloodline. A bloodline we thought was gone. But it seems some of it survived, hidden in common families like yours." His eyes became hungry. "You are not a rejected bride, Yuna. You are royalty. And I intend to marry you and claim that bloodline from my family." Taeho felt cold fear in his chest. "She is already married." "To me, your marriage is nothing," Daesu repeated. "Our council has already decided. Human law does not apply to our species. Yuna must come with us. She must marry me. She has no choice." Yuna grabbed Taeho's arm. "I will not go. Taeho is my husband. I choose him." Daesu's face became angry. "You would choose a human over your own people? Over your own blood? You would throw away your birthright for this simple worker?" "Yes," Yuna said. Her voice was no longer shaking. It was strong, clear, certain. "Taeho saved me when no one else would. He called me beautiful when everyone else called me defective. He married me to save my life. I will not leave him." Daesu stepped forward, his hands closing into fists. "You do not understand. This is not a request. This is an order. You will come with us, or there will be consequences." Taeho pushed Yuna behind him. "Touch her, and I will kill you." The words came out of his mouth before he could stop them. They were not smart words. The aliens were bigger than him, stronger than him. They probably had weapons. But Taeho did not care. He would fight them with his bare hands if he had to. Daesu stared at him with surprise. Then he laughed. "Such fire in you, human. Such passion. I see why she chose you." He turned to his companion. "We will return. This matter will be decided by the Galactic Council. Until then, enjoy your borrowed time." They left without another word. Taeho closed the door and locked it. His hands were shaking. Yuna was crying. "I am sorry. I am so sorry. I did not know. I did not know about the royal blood. This is all my fault." Taeho held her tightly. "This is not your fault. None of this is your fault. They will take me," Yuna sobbed. "The Galactic Council always supports species law over human law. They will force me to go with them. Then we will fight," Taeho said. Yuna looked up at him. "Fight? How?" "They have power. They have money. They have the law. We have nothing." Taeho smiled. It was a sad smile, but there was fire behind it. "We have something they do not understand. We have human stubbornness. We do not give up, ever." The news spread quickly across the station. A human had married a secret royal. A human had refused to give her up. A human was standing against an entire species for love. Some people thought Taeho was stupid. Some thought he was brave. Some thought he was both. But something strange started to happen. Other humans on the station began to gather around Taeho and Yuna. Dock workers, shop owners, engineers, pilots. They came to the small room on level 8 and offered their support. "We stand with you," they said. "You are not alone." Word traveled to other stations, other human colonies. The story of the dock worker and the silver-haired bride spread like fire across the stars. On the day of the council hearing, Taeho and Yuna walked into the Great Hall together. Daesu was there with his lawyers and officials. They looked confident, certain of victory. But behind Taeho stood a crowd of humans. Hundreds of them. They had come from all over the station, from ships passing through, from colonies light years away. They stood in silence, their eyes fixed on the council. The head counselor, a gray-skinned alien from a neutral species, looked at the crowd with surprise. "What is the meaning of this?" She asked. Tae-Ho stepped forward. "I am here to defend my marriage. And these people are here to remind the council that humanity does not abandon its own." The counselor stared at him for a long moment. Then she looked at the crowd behind him. Then she looked at Daesu. "This hearing is about more than one marriage," she said slowly. "It is about what kind of galaxy we want to live in. One where people are property to be claimed, or one where choice matters." The hearing went on for hours. Lawyers spoke. Officials argued. Evidence was presented. But through it all, the crowd of humans stayed silent and still. Their presence was a message that needed no words. In the end, the council made its decision. "The marriage between Taeho and Yuna is valid under galactic law," the head counselor announced. "Species law cannot override personal choice when a legal bond already exists." Daesu's claim is rejected. The crowd erupted in cheers. Yuna fell into Taeho's arms, crying with joy. Daesu stormed out of the hall, his face dark with anger. But Taeho was not looking at him. He was looking at his wife, his friend, his partner. the woman with starlight in her hair. "We won," she whispered. "Yes," Taeho said. "We won." And in that moment, he knew something had changed. Not just for them, but for the entire galaxy. Humanity had sent a message that day. A message of love, of loyalty, of stubborn determination. Some species build empires with weapons. Others build them with technology. But humans? Humans build them with heart thought. And that was something no one could take away. The morning cycle came too quickly. Artificial lights slowly grew brighter across the station, telling everyone it was time to wake up. Taeho had not slept much. He had spent most of the night thinking, trying to find a way to help Yuna. When she opened her eyes, she looked confused for a moment. Then she remembered where she was, and her face became sad again. "Good morning," Taeho said softly. "Good morning." Yuna sat up slowly. Her silver hair was messy from sleep, falling around her face in soft waves. She looked down at her dirty wedding dress and sighed. "I must look terrible." "You look fine," Taeho said. He handed her a cup of warm tea. "Drink this. It will help you feel better." Yuna took the cup with both hands. She breathed in the steam and took a small sip. "Thank you for everything. I know I must leave soon. I do not want to cause you trouble. Where will you go?" Taeho asked. Yuna was quiet. They both knew the answer. She had nowhere to go. The station officials would find her. They would take her to the labor market. She would be sold. "Maybe it will not be so bad," Yuna said, but her voice was empty. "Maybe my new master will be kind." Taeho felt anger burn in his chest. "This is wrong. You did nothing wrong. Why should you be punished? It is the law." Yuna shrugged sadly. A rejected bride with no resources becomes property of the station. "I knew this when I came here. I just hoped." She stopped speaking and looked away. Taeho stood up and walked to the small window. Outside, he could see the stars and the darkness of space. He thought about his simple life, his quiet job, his lonely dinners. What did he have to lose? An idea came to him. It was crazy. It was stupid. It might not even work. But it was the only thing he could think of. He turned around to face Yuna. His heart was beating very fast. "Marry me," he said. Yuna stared at him. The cup of tea almost fell from her hands. "What? Marry me?" Taeho repeated. "Right now, today. If you are married, you cannot be sold. You will be free." Yuna shook her head. "You cannot be serious." "I am very serious." Taeho walked to her and knelt down so they were at the same eye level. "Listen to me. I know we just met. I know this is strange. But I will not let them sell you like cargo. I cannot. But why?" Yuna's voice was shaking. "Why would you sacrifice your freedom for a stranger? For a defect?" Taeho took her hands gently. "Stop calling yourself that. You are not a defect. You are a person. A beautiful, kind person who deserves better than this." "You do not know me," Yuna whispered. "You do not know my species, our customs, our ways. Marriage is not just a paper. It is a bond, a promise." "I understand," Taeho said. "And I am willing to make that promise. Not because I love you. We do not know each other enough for that yet. But because it is right. Because you deserve a chance to live free." Tears fell from Yuna's violet eyes. "And what do you get from this? A wife you do not love? A burden you did not ask for?" Taeho smiled softly. "I get a friend. Someone to share meals with. Someone to talk to at night. I have been alone for a very long time, Yuna. Maybe too long. Is it so wrong to want some company?" Yuna laughed through her tears. It was a broken sound, but there was something real in it. Something warm. "You are the strangest human I have ever met," she said. "Is that a yes?" Yuna looked into his eyes for a long moment. She seemed to be searching for lies, for tricks, for hidden reasons. But Taeho had none. His offer was honest. His heart was open. Finally, she nodded. "Yes, I will marry you, Taeho. But I want you to know that I will do everything I can to be a good wife. I will work hard. I will learn your ways. I will not be a burden." Taeho squeezed her hands. "You could never be a burden. Now, let us go before the station officials start looking for you." They left the small room together. Taeho led Yuna through the halls of the station, walking quickly but not running. They could not look suspicious. They had to look normal. The station registry office was on level 5. It was a plain room with gray walls and a tired-looking official behind a desk. The official was human, an older woman with gray hair and small glasses. She looked up when Taeho and Yuna entered. Her eyes moved from Taeho to Yuna, taking in the dirty wedding dress and the silver hair. "Can I help you?" she asked. "We want to register a marriage," Taeho said. The official raised her eyebrows. "Both of you? Today?" "Yes, right now, if possible." The official looked at Yuna. "Are you the rejected bride from Dock 7? Yuna's face became pale. Taeho stepped forward. "She is my bride. We are here to make it official." The official stared at them for a long moment. Then she sighed and pulled out some forms. Interspecies marriages require extra paperwork. It will take about 30 minutes. "Is that acceptable?" "Yes," Taeho said quickly. "That is fine." For the next 30 minutes, they filled out forms and answered questions. The official asked about their species, their ages, their reasons for marriage. Taeho answered honestly. He said they wanted to start a new life together. He said he cared for Yuna and wanted to protect her. The official looked at him with something like respect in her eyes. "You know what you are doing? Taking an alien bride is not easy. People will talk. Some will judge. Let them talk," Taeho said. "I do not care what others think." Yuna held his hand tightly through the whole process. Her fingers were cold, and he could feel her shaking. But she did not let go. Finally, the last form was signed. The official stamped the documents and handed them a marriage certificate. "You are now legally married under station law," she said. "Congratulations." Taeho looked at the certificate in his hands. It felt strange. An hour ago, he had been a lonely dock worker. Now he was a husband. Yuna stood beside him, looking at the same paper. Tears were falling down her face again. "It is real," she whispered. I am free?" "You are free," Taeho confirmed. "You are my wife now. No one can sell you. No one can hurt you." Yuna turned to him and did something he did not expect. She put her arms around him and held him tightly. Her body was warm against his, and he could feel her tears on his shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you. Thank you." Taeho held her gently. He did not know what their future would look like. He did not know if they would learn to love each other or if they would just be friends. But in that moment, none of that mattered. He had saved a life. He had done something good. And for the first time in a very long time, he did not feel alone. They walked out of the registry office together, husband and wife. The station moved around them, busy and loud and full of life. But they only saw each other. "What do we do now?" Yuna asked. Taeho smiled at her. "Now we go home. And then we start learning how to be married." Yuna smiled back at him. It was a real smile this time, bright and warm. "I think I would like that." Hand in hand, they walked through the station toward their small room on level 8. They did not know that their story had only just begun. They did not know that forces larger than themselves were already starting to move. But for now, in this moment, they had each other. And that was enough. Tejo stood up and held out his hand to Yuna. She looked at it with confusion, as if she did not understand what he wanted. "Come with me," he said gently. "You cannot stay here. It is cold, and it is not safe." Yuna shook her head slowly. "I cannot go anywhere. I have no money. I have no place." "You can come to my home," Tejo said. "It is small, but it is warm. You can eat something and rest." Yuna's violet eyes went wide. "Why would you do this? You do not know me. I am a stranger. She touched her silver hair. "I am defective." Tejo felt a sharp pain in his heart when she called herself that word again. "Stop saying that. You are not defective. And I am helping you because it is the right thing to do. That is all." For a long moment, Yuna just stared at him. She seemed to be searching for something in his eyes. Some trick. Some hidden reason. But Tejo had no tricks. He was just a simple man who could not walk away from someone in pain. Finally, slowly, Yuna reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were cold, and her skin was softer than anything Tejo had ever touched. He helped her stand up and picked up her small bag. "Follow me," he said. "It is not far." They walked through the quiet halls of the station. Yuna stayed close to Tejo, looking around with nervous eyes. A few people passed them, and some looked at Yuna with curiosity. A human walking with a blue-skinned alien in a wedding dress was not a normal sight. But no one said anything, and soon they reached the residential area. Tejo's home was a small room on level 8. It had a bed, a small kitchen area, a table with 2 chairs, and a screen on the wall. There was a tiny bathroom in the corner. It was not much, but it was clean and warm. "Please sit down," Tejo said, pointing to one of the chairs. "Are you hungry?" Yuna sat down slowly, her eyes looking at everything in the room. Yes. I have not eaten since yesterday." Tejo felt anger at the man who had left her with nothing. But he pushed the feeling down and went to his small kitchen. He made rice and heated some soup. He cut some vegetables and put everything on a plate. It was simple food, but it was warm and filling. He placed the food in front of Yuna. She looked at it, then looked at him. "I cannot pay you for this," she said quietly. "I do not want payment." Tejo sat down across from her. "Please, eat." Yuna picked up the spoon and took a small bite. Her eyes closed, and a soft sound came from her lips. "This is good." "Very good," Tejo smiled. It was the first time he had smiled in many days. "I am glad you like it." They sat in comfortable silence as Yuna ate. She ate slowly at first, then faster as her hunger took over. Tejo made more food, and she ate that too. When she was finally full, she put down her spoon and looked at Tejo with wonder in her eyes. "You are very strange," she said. Tejo laughed. "That is what most people say about humans. No, I mean..." Yuna struggled to find the right words. "You saw me crying in the dock. A stranger. An alien. Someone your species knows nothing about. And you brought me to your home. You fed me. You asked for nothing." She shook her head. "In my world, this does not happen. Kindness always has a price." Tejo leaned back in his chair. "I am sorry your world is like that. In my world, kindness is just kindness. Nothing more. But why?" Yuna asked. "Why are humans like this? We have heard stories about your species. They say humans are dangerous. They say humans are emotional and unpredictable. They say humans will fight for anything, even things that do not matter." Tejo thought about this. Maybe that is true. We are emotional. We do fight for things that others think do not matter. but we also love deeply. We care about others, even strangers. It is part of who we are. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she reached up and touched her silver hair again. The man who was supposed to marry me, he was from a very important family in my species. Our families arranged everything. I traveled for 6 months to reach this station. 6 months of hoping that my life would be different, that someone would finally accept me. Her voice became very small. When he looked at me, I saw only disgust in his eyes. He said my hair was a curse. He said he would not bring shame to his family by marrying me. Then he left. Just like that. 6 months of hope, gone in one moment. Taeho felt his hands close into fists under the table. He is a fool. Yuna looked at him with surprise. What? He is a fool, Taeho repeated. Any man who would reject you because of your hair color is not worth your tears. Your hair is not a curse. It is beautiful. It is part of who you are. Yuna's eyes filled with tears again. You keep saying that my hair is beautiful. No one has ever said this to me. My whole life, I have been told I am defective. My parents loved me, but even they could not hide their disappointment. They tried to dye my hair when I was young, but the color always came back. They covered my head with claws when strangers visited. They were ashamed of me. Taeho felt his heart break for this woman. To live a whole life being told you were wrong, that you were broken, that you were not good enough. He could not imagine such pain. Stand up, he said suddenly. Yuna looked confused. What? Taeho stood up and pointed to a small mirror on the wall. Come here. Look at yourself. Slowly, Yuna stood up and walked to the mirror. She looked at her reflection, and her face became sad. Taeho stood behind her. Tell me what you see. I see a rejected bride, Yuna whispered. I see silver hair. I see a defect. No, Taeho said firmly. Look again. Really look. Yuna stared at her reflection. Taeho spoke softly behind her. I see a woman who traveled across the galaxy alone. That takes courage. I see violet eyes that are kind and deep. I see blue skin that is the color of a beautiful sky. And I see silver hair that shines like the stars themselves. Yuna turned to face him. Tears were falling down her cheeks, but she was smiling. It was a small smile, broken and unsure, but it was real. You are very strange, Taeho, she said. But I think maybe strange is not a bad thing. Taeho smiled back at her. Get some rest. You can have the bed. I will sleep on the floor. I cannot take your bed, Yuna protested. You can, and you will, Taeho said. You have had a very hard day. You need real sleep. Yuna wanted to argue more, but she was too tired. She nodded slowly and walked to the bed. She lay down on top of the covers, still wearing her wedding dress. Within minutes, her eyes closed and her breathing became slow and steady. Taeho sat in his chair and watched her sleep. In the soft light of his small room, her silver hair spread across the pillow like a river of starlight. She looked peaceful for the first time since he had found her. He did not know what tomorrow would bring. He did not know how to save her from the labor market. He did not even know if he could save her. But as he watched her sleep, he made a promise to himself. He would try. He would find a way. Because some things were worth fighting for, even if they did not make sense. And this woman, this lonely, broken, beautiful woman, was worth fighting for. The station hummed quietly around them. And somewhere in the distance, a ship departed for the stars. But in this small room on level 8, 2 lonely souls had found each other. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The space station was always busy during the night cycle. Ships came and went. People moved like water through the long metal halls. But in the corner of Dock 7, where the old cargo containers sat forgotten, Everything was quiet. Taiho walked slowly through this forgotten place. He was a dock worker, one of many humans who lived on Station 12. His job was simple. He moved boxes. He checked labels. He made sure things went to the right ships. It was boring work, but it paid enough for his small room and his simple meals. He was 32 years old and very alone. He had no family on the station. His parents had died years ago on Earth. He had no wife, no children, no close friends. Most nights, he ate dinner by himself and watched old movies on his small screen. This was his life, and he had accepted it. Tonight, he was walking home after a long shift. He liked to take the quiet path through Dock 7. It was longer, but there were no crowds. No noise. Just the soft hum of the station and the distant sound of ships. That was when he heard it. A soft sound. Like crying. Taiho stopped walking. He listened carefully. Yes, someone was crying. The sound came from behind a stack of old containers. He should have kept walking. It was not his business. But something in his heart made him move toward the sound. He walked around the containers and stopped. There, sitting on the cold metal floor, was a woman. But she was not human. Her skin was pale blue, like the color of a morning sky. Her hair was long and silver, falling around her shoulders like moonlight. She wore a beautiful white dress, the kind worn for special days. Her face was buried in her hands, and her thin shoulders shook as she cried. Taiho had seen many aliens on the station. This was a place where many species met, but he had never seen anyone who looked so sad, so broken. He stood there for a long moment, not knowing what to do. Then he spoke, his voice soft and careful. "Are you okay?" The woman looked up quickly. Her eyes were large and violet, filled with tears. When she saw Taiho, fear crossed her face. She tried to move back, pressing herself against the container behind her. "Please," she said in a shaking voice. "Please do not hurt me." Taiho held up his hands to show he meant no harm. "I will not hurt you. I promise. I just heard you crying." The woman stared at him for a long time. She seemed to be waiting for him to do something bad. When he did not move, some of the fear left her eyes. But the sadness remained. "You are human," she said quietly. "Yes, my name is Taiho." She looked down at the floor. "I am Yuna." Taiho looked at her beautiful dress, now dirty from the floor. He looked at the small bag sitting next to her. He understood something was very wrong. "Why are you here alone?" he asked. "This is not a safe place." Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, and her voice was filled with pain. "I was supposed to be married today." Taiho felt his heart grow heavy. "What happened?" "He rejected me." Fresh tears fell from her violet eyes. "My intended husband. He came to the dock to meet me. He looked at me one time. Then he said he would not have me. He said I was defective." "Defective?" Taiho did not understand. "What do you mean?" Yuna touched her silver hair with a shaking hand. "This, my hair. In my species, hair should be dark blue, like deep water. Silver hair is a mark of shame. It means bad blood, bad luck. No one wants a bride with silver hair." Taiho looked at her hair. It was beautiful. It shone like stars. He could not understand why anyone would call it defective. "I came from very far away," Yuna continued. "My family paid much money to arrange this marriage. They hoped the human territory would be different. That here, no one would care about my hair." She laughed, but it was a sad sound. "They were wrong. My intended husband was not human. He was from a species that shares my beliefs. When he saw my hair, he was angry. He called me ugly. He said he would not marry a defect. Where is he now?" Taiho asked, feeling anger rise in his chest. He left. He took back the marriage contract and left me here. Yuna's voice broke. I have no money. I have no way to go home. I have nothing. Taeho sat down on the floor across from her. He did not care that the metal was cold. He did not care that his clothes would get dirty. He just wanted her to know she was not alone. What will happen to you? He asked. Yuna wiped her eyes. If I am not claimed by morning, the station will send me to the labor market. I will be sold as a servant to pay for my transport here. She looked at Taeho with empty eyes. This is the law for rejected brides. Taeho felt sick. This was not right. This woman had done nothing wrong. She had come here hoping for a new life, and now she would be sold like property. That is a terrible law, he said. It is the way of things. Yuna looked at the floor. I should have known. No one wants a defect. Taeho looked at her silver hair, at her beautiful blue skin, at her sad violet eyes. He saw no defect. He saw only a woman who had been treated badly by a cruel galaxy. You are not a defect, he said firmly. Yuna looked at him with surprise. What? Your hair is beautiful. I have never seen anything like it. Anyone who calls it ugly is blind. Yuna stared at him as if he had spoken in a language she did not understand. You think my hair is beautiful? Yes. Taeho meant it with all his heart. It looks like starlight. For a moment, Yuna said nothing. Then, slowly more tears fell from her eyes. But these tears were different. They were not tears of sadness. They were tears of something else. Something like hope. No one has ever said that to me before. She whispered. Tae-ho did not know what to say. So he just sat there with her in the quiet corner of Dock 7, two lonely souls in a very large galaxy. He did not know what tomorrow would bring. He did not know how he could help her. But he knew one thing for certain. He would not let this woman be sold like cargo. Not if he could stop it. The night cycle continued around them, but in that small corner, something had changed. A connection had been made. A tiny light had appeared in the darkness. And sometimes, that is how the greatest stories begin.